Silver Surfer for the NES is supposed to be horrible. This really uber difficult game that sucks tremendous ass or something. Silver Surfer for the NES is the game where you touch the floor you die, you touch the rubber ducky you die, etc, etc, etc. Silver Surfer for the NES is supposed to be the video game equivalent of an anal evacuate. What? So, let's get the descriptor out of the way. Based on the comic book character of the same name, Silver Surfer is a side-scrolling shoot-'em-up where you play as the eponymous Silver Surfer and must travel through multiple worlds to acquire pieces of a dangerous MacGuffin called the Cosmic Device. Surfer can move around and shoot cosmic projectiles to destroy enemies, can collect pickups to gradually increase his firepower, and perhaps most importantly, cannot touch any enemies, projectiles, or solid objects. What do I mean by solid objects? What I mean by solid objects is, if your shots don't go through something, you probably shouldn't touch it. And indeed, this one-hit kill thing is a deal breaker for a game based on the exploits of an all-powerful cosmic being, who's supposed to be this super powerful big deal, yet here he is getting killed by rubber duckies. There are no shield pickups or invincibility periods to be had here. One hit and Surfer goes bye-bye, respawning at the last checkpoint if you passed one in a level. Now of course, this sort of format is apparent in a number of other scrolling shooters, but really, Silver Surfer goes down in a hit, from a rubber ducky no less. Is that the best you could do with the character? I mean, that'd be like making a Superman game where Superman flies through rings for 80% of the game. Oh wait, they made a game like that, sorry, my bad. Okay, so setting that piece of business aside, Silver Surfer starts by letting you choose from any of the 5 domains to play through. It's sort of like Mega Man, you play the domains in any order you wish, and once you've cleared them all, you get the challenge to the 6th and final domain, the Magic Domain. You don't get any cool shit for clearing the domain, so the order at which you progress is at your discretion. Some enemies will drop power-ups, either pickups that will increase your attack power, bombs that will clear the screen at the press of a button, the select button of course, or multiples that will shoot additional shots. Of course, if you die, you lose all these wonderfully helpful tools and are left with the sole pea shooter. Now let's pretend for a moment that this is a completely generic space shooter. Let's imagine that you're not controlling the Silver Surfer, you're controlling some generic dude on a surfboard, or let's pretend you're flying a spaceship. I don't know, work with me here. From a purely gameplay standpoint, Silver Surfer's biggest detriment, and the thing that makes people flee in horror, is the game's high difficulty. Especially in some of the overhead levels where you have to navigate these narrow passages, and it is a tight squeeze because your surfboard is so huge, and the slightest touch is enough to knock you out. There's also the case where some projectiles would blend in with the background, and as such they might appear out of nowhere, or difficult to make out, or whatever the case may be. And indeed, there are instances where the level design, enemy placement, and other hazards might make certain situations seem cheap and impossible. In the grand scheme of things, success in Silver Surfer is largely dependent on level memorization, repetition, and maybe a bit of luck to survive the perils that lay within the game's 18 levels of play. To be fair, however, that's a point you could make towards any scrolling shooter in general, to be quite honest. While Surfer doesn't have power-ups that will grant him screen-filling spread shots or protective shielding, he does have a limited number of screen-clearing bombs that can be activated on a whim, and the options he can pick up along the way can be repositioned to shoot downwards or behind, or even provide some sort of spread shot in the vertical levels. Yes, Silver Surfer has a bit of a steep difficulty that may turn off some players, and some sections of level are seemingly on the cheap side of things. But as far as being impossible, broken, or anything of the sort, absolutely not. At least I don't think so. There's always a way out, there's always a strategy to conquer, and there's always a rubber ducky capable of killing a cosmic being. It's the way of things, I'm afraid. Silver Surfer starts you off with a generous 5 lives, and you could earn more every several thousand points or so. So clearly, there's some effort made to ease the pain a bit, which is immediately nullified by the fact that you only have a couple continues at most. There is a hidden password feature that can be used to skip to later levels, grant you more continues, and there's even codes allowing you to play the second and third quests. That's right, there are passwords in Silver Surfer to make the game harder than before that seldom few people will actually ever use. As far as control goes, it works. Surfer moves around easily and responsively, When you press a button, it does what it's supposed to. It works. One might wish one can hold down the A button for rapid fire, but I guess that's why they have turbo controllers such as the NES Advantage on the market. Silver Surfer sports some amazing graphics, such as this infamous visual of Silver Surfer in his lull-worthy fail pose. Right off the bat, I have an issue here because this graphic is inconsistent with the action on screen. Whenever Surfer dies, he falls off his board, but then this pops up and he's back on his board facepalming in shame. My guess is he just saw the Angry Video Game Nerd movie and got a headache. I can't say I blame him, but I digress. In all seriousness though, Silver Surfer does sport some rather solid looking visuals. Each of the various domains you'll encounter are diverse and suitably haunting with its dreary visuals and detailed pixel work. The scrolling is smooth, the enemy design is very much in the varied middle of the road variety, leaning upwards. And the various mugshots do a fine job of replicating the character designs of the comic in fair fashion. I assume at least. Surfer looks a bit albino here and lacking in detail when it comes to the in-game portions, but the overhead perspective does give his board some sweet lines. Okay, they're not that sweet, but it's something at least. High point in the game is the sound. Despite there only being a couple musical numbers in the game, they're actually pretty catchy and match up the somewhat cosmic nature of the material. Almost amazingly, these tunes don't get tiresome even after having heard them throughout several levels for about an hour's worth of play, which is always a good sign for quality tunes. The sound effects aren't too bad either. Basic set of explosives, pew 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 kinds of sound effects that sound a touch better than my quarter-assed attempts right there. Good stuff nonetheless. Overall, Silver Surfer does little justice to the title character, nerfing him to essentially a one-hit kill wonder whose large stature makes it difficult to avoid colliding with solid objects as well as enemy threats. For someone who is supposed to be a being of immense cosmic power, he shouldn't be defeated by a rubber ducky or anything of the sort, let alone be knocked off by running into a wall at what is generally considered average walking speed. That having been said, as far as the game itself is concerned, it's really nothing more than a fairly straightforward, somewhat intensely challenging shooter that is at the very least functional and competent. It's not remarkable, it's not offensive, it's no hidden gem, it's just there. If anything, the best compliment I could give Silver Surfer is that it's decidedly average quality at best. Nonetheless, if you like challenging shooters on the NES, Silver Surfer is worth a look or two, and if not, well, there are plenty of other games you could check out in lieu of this. On a whole, Silver Surfer is not terrible, but it's not for everyone, and that's pretty much all I got to say about that.